is.
Thanks, guys. Huni, DeMonte, congratulations on that win. Now, the first thing I have to ask you is run me through that final play because you were just running across the map trying to catch out CLG.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty wild. Like, I think it was like almost a full map that we chased him, and Vulcan ended up getting an insane engage, and you know, maybe I looked cool pressing R flash, but that was all Vulcan.
Oh, Vulcan, well, Huni, then let's ask you. A lot of Clutch fans were definitely worried after seeing Game 3, and they were worried that the potential reverse sweep was going to happen. So were you?
Yeah, definitely that also hurt it. The 34th match at the Detroit, pretty sure the reverse sweep is like everyone was like really hurt it, and that's why after the practice was actually not insanely good. It could have been better, but actually we just try all the best thing we can do, and we actually experienced it. It could be reverse swap. We nearly talked about before it could happen again. So we should just learn from what happened before and make sure we just don't happen ever again. And this is I think we proved that we actually improvement.
Well, how do you mentally prepare for that? How do you say, okay, here comes we're up 2-0. How do we not get reverse swept?
After 2, actually, we were talking about the same thing. 2-0 is not gonna make us 3-0. And as soon as it happened 2-1, is anyone we were asking just each other is anyone tilted? Is anyone good? Just make sure just double check to confirm that everyone has the same attitude that we're gonna just smash this guy again with a 3-0, a 3-1.
Yeah, actually, I would say our coach Artemis, he told us after the CLG game and after Game 3 today, he said getting reverse swept only happens one time in your career. It's something you got to learn from when it happens, and that's what we did.
So then with all of that being said, how does it feel to be standing up here, the victor over CLG?
Well, it definitely feels good to get our revenge. I think we're definitely the better team, and we showed it today. Now, we're just coming in tomorrow, and we're going to play against TSM again. We already beat them once, and they're going to want... True. They're going to want their revenge now, so it's kind of the opposite. So definitely we're ready, and TSM might pull off something that we don't expect.
So I definitely want to talk about TSM, but first I want to praise you guys for your series, starting with you, Huni, because in Game 2, you had that phenomenal Irelia where you were just commanding pressure all over the game and almost forcing them to send all 5 after you. So what's it like being in that kind of a position?
It kind of sucks, honestly. My team diff? Oh, no, just kidding. It was definitely just a top diff that I draw the pressures and then team were doing actually was good things. And it was feel pretty good. They were trying to kill me 5 people and then I burned 45 seconds to do it, and then we nearly got more than 4 turret. That happens a lot. Because they know they need to kill the Huni to win, but I mean I got proof. Even though you guys kill it, it's not gonna happen, dude.
Well, you have 2 Hunis. You have Huni and then Huni number 2. So does the same go for you? We saw you break out your Lux in Game 1. So I wanted to find out, is this Clutch Gaming at full force, or do you guys still have a couple tricks hidden up your sleeve?
I mean, definitely we've showed over the last 2 days that we're not just Rumble Kiana, and I mean, we did win a game on Kiana today, but yeah, I mean, we have just infinite champion pool. All 5 players can play every champion in the game, and we're all willing to sacrifice for each other, so who knows what we're gonna play next.
All right, well then let's talk your next opponent, TSM, tomorrow. CLG came into this saying that Clutch Gaming is going to be the toughest opponent of the gauntlet. So do you share that same sentiment, or do you see TSM as that final boss?
Well, TSM is definitely better than everyone thinks, I would say. I think they have players like Bjergsen, players like Sven. These are huge veterans, and they're not going to spend this month and a half that they had practicing just messing around, going into Gauntlet just to lose. They're going to come and they're going to try to win. They're going to probably have a lot of new strategies, and now they've actually had time to play with Spica, so definitely not a match we're taking lightly. I don't know if they're better than CLG, but we'll find out tomorrow.
All right, and then the final thing that I want to ask you guys, I asked Vulcan and Cody Sun the same thing yesterday. What would qualifying for Worlds really mean to you? Huni, it's been 2 years since your last appearance there.
I mean, first of all, I've never missed the Worlds. 2015, 2017, 2019, so this is the year that I need to prove every single couple of years that I'm going worse.
And DeMonte, for you?
Well, I'm a pretty new player still, so going to Worlds pretty surreal, so I really, really hope I'm going to make it, and I hope I don't cry if I do make it.
Well, I'll be right here to catch that action, but both of you, congratulations once again, and best of luck to you moving into tomorrow. That is it for us here. Back to you guys at the State Farm Analyst Desk.
Thank you very much, Avali. Clutch has done it in 3-1 fashion. They make a statement here in the rematch against CLG to book themselves one more best-of-5 tomorrow in order to make it as the 3rd seed to the World Championship representing North America.
They were sweating. They were sweating.
Yeah, I was sweating. They were very cheery on stage there, but we were this close to going to a 5th game.
I thought that was going to go to Game 5 for sure. When I was seeing those team fights and I saw Stoneplate on Aatrox for the first time, I was just
I mean, this was a crazy back-and-forth game. A lot of action really early on was good to see. CLG actually getting the better of this early trade here in the mid lane.
And this continues the trend of Clutch Gaming finding wins with Kiana and the Skarner again.
It was the only one. The other two, though, were unique. And I mean, this was just a dangerous pick for Kiana. They was really pressured all early game. They're trying to make this gank happen when he only has boots and a
no magic
Yeah,
mantle.
so you saw him
No
lacking the damage to 100 to 0 out the Syndra through the combo, and that started having this kind of like mid spillover effect. But I mean, Clutch did what it did best. They forced these fights around the Rift Herald and then the jungles.
Right, really scrappy fights with kills being traded back and forth. This one was very close. We were even looking at it from a mechanics decision-making point of view. If that Syndra ult actually didn't go on to Cody and on to the Rakan instead, maybe could have avoided some of the CC and allowed them to chase more kills out. But that's getting into the weeds of it all. Here, the Infernal Drake given up by Clutch. I think this is about the point in the game where things started to get a little shaky for a Clutch team that had gotten their Aatrox off to a phenomenal start.
I was calling it since CLG was doing Dragon. Clutch could burn this Dragon down, or the Baron down. One of the perks of having Tyson. Just melt objectives so much. And so they get a little bit late, and yeah, you clean up the party, but you still had it.
Oh no, this is where we thought we were going to Game 5.
I think we're seeing a lot of this from Huni on Aatrox, is where he's just going way too far forward. And like, he has the Stoneplate, but why would you want a Stoneplate on Aatrox? You want to get more healing. You don't want to get more durability through just 50% reduced damage.
Gargoyle because he doesn't have Merc treads too, so he's just stunned in place and like, here I am.
It is just an overall baffling item choice because, as you alluded to there, the kind of inherent tankiness of Aatrox comes from his ability to heal by dealing damage.
Yeah.
And then by virtue of building a stone plate, you nerf your own damage for tankiness.
Okay.
Yeah, just
but forfeit your own
I want to defend.
innate tankiness.
I think you want to attack it. I want to defend.
Okay.
first.
All right, go.
All right.
Let's hear
You
it.
don't have to prop the active, and you still get bonus resistances when.
That is
people are
true.
near you.
If you
But
don't
build a
use
Spirit
the
Visage.
active.
Build a
yes.
Spirit Visage.
Still a better choice, but I can see why he was
Build a
thinking
GA
about
and a
it.
Spirit Visage.
Nice defense.
Don't build the
from-
Randuin's Omen. The GP didn't have any crit yet when you built the Randuin's Omen. It was only...
Anyway,
They won the game.
Yeah, I know. But we only go in that hard on some of this stuff from Huni because it is still indicative of some small issues that plague a team that is trying to make their case for the World Championship. And so while yes, they made leaps and bounds in the last 2 weeks to come and 3-1 a team that had recently 3-2'd them, it is still important to look for those moments where they can shore up, small weaknesses within their game as a whole.
I mean, 10 moments that you improve that increase your odds by 1% is already a 10% increase in your chance. So if it's a matter of each build or each little pathing, all of a sudden you've strung together a whole lot of ways for you to improve just off of small little things that you could do better.
It was said by the casters that following that play there, it felt like we were going to Game 5. The rest of us back here thought the same thing. Something, no short of a miracle would have to occur in order for Clutch to take it. And that's what they found up there in the top lane, chasing down Messiah, using everything they can.
And this play started 30 seconds earlier outside their inhib turret TPing and trying to force a fight. And this is why people are excited about Clutch potentially going to Worlds. They are relentless. When they want to make a play, they're going to make a play happen. And they just kept forcing it until they finally broke CLG's back against that wall.
I really wanted CLG to win the series, but watching that play, I actually got some chills. That was freaking insane. And then I was like, oh, CLG's still in it, Rune's still there. And then I saw the play at the next and my heart broke a little bit because,
I mean, that's, and I'm sure you can attest to you've been in many high pressure moments. You've been in many base races where that kind of decision making, there's not a ton of thought to it. It's probably all instinct and gut at that point.
You kind of see as the series goes on that play kind of deteriorates. And like Clutch, they're playing best of fives back to back to back. Like, the games are going to get more messy as we're going, and that's what I'm kind of seeing with Clutch's play. They're getting a little looser, and especially with Huni, he's crushing his lane, right? He just needs to, like, shore up a little bit in the mid game and not go for these random frontline plays, especially with the champions he's playing like Aatrox. And I think Clutch is looking like a great team. I really want them to be one of the teams that goes to Worlds, but they really need to like not go too overconfident. I think we're seeing a lot of that overconfidence.
Without a doubt. And I think they are aware of it, as has been showcased in a number of our interviews. But you mentioned Huni. Clutch have picked up another match, and today the honor of player of the series is going to Huni up there in the top lane. He had his fair share of great plays and blunders, but the good outweighed the bad.
Yeah, the first 2 Aurelia games were amazing. He absolutely hard carried them in those 2 games, setting up huge plays. And then even in this game, the solo kill into the turret, the fact that he was winning the GP matchup, which Darshan was talking about, is a very skill-heavy matchup.
Yeah, I mean, he is a player that I think inspires the rest of the squad. We know he inspires the Monte. The Monte really has a drive to kind of give back to Huni, like the championship form
Look
that he
at
was
that
at.
forward percentage in game 4. 54%. That's actually near unheard of in a forward percentage. It's very rare to get up that high, just because of the number of times you base in the earlier portions of the game. So stellar work by Huni. We'll have to give an honorable mention to Cody Sun, where Huni may have had more of the high highs. Cody Sun felt like kind of the consistent factor for the team throughout the 4 games. So another nod to him following a great series yesterday. But now we've arrived at the place where they've got one more to get through. And we've already talked about fatigue factor. We've talked about prep for the teams that have gotten an opportunity to look at Clutch. But the fact that Clutch hasn't had many opportunities to look at FlyQuest or TSM, 2 of their opponents.
And it's so fitting that we started playoffs with TSM against Clutch Gaming in a completely different mindset of what TSM was and what Clutch was, and we're going to end it the same way. However, I think that time has allowed Clutch Gaming to now be the favorites going into this.
I think undoubtedly they would be considered the favorites. I think, the real question, as with FlyQuest, is what has TSM really been working on in this last month? Where is it that they are going to find their wins? If we think back to spring split finals against TL, what jumps to my brain is players like Broken Blade, who actually stepped up phenomenally in that series with some, like carry performances on Vladimir's and things like that. A lot of that identity has seemed to slip away, and to be fair, the meta is very different. So my question then becomes, what should they have spent this last month doing? Where should they be looking for victories?
I think TSM, they need to hone in on specific champions strategies, like the Zillion strategy that they had before with the Kindred. Get 3 of those and just play only those. Beat Clutch, then think about getting better when you're boot camping in Europe. They really should have just focused on how do you win 3 games against this last opponent, and then figure the rest out.
I think just even like some of the other things Clutch does, they limited their champion pool earlier on this season where they were just starting to play Rumble every game. I think as well as just like have one team play that you're really good at. Clutch just goes for the Rift Herald. Every game, you see it coming a mile away. It's like, oh, they took the Dragon and forced a recall. They're going top in a minute. And then it happens every single time. And that does a really good job of getting everyone on the same page, whether it's a bot lane 4-minute.
You're always going to dive.
Yeah, or when they go for their blue, we're always forcing a dragon fight. Like, there's a couple plays that you can pretty much 100% force. They will be contested and you need to execute on, but there are team plays in League of Legends that you can just do every single game. And I think something like that would be good to get TSM all on the same page with their young jungler.
Maybe not TSM specific, but Darshan, like, if you're given a month, and you've been in many postseasons, so you've had, a week or 2 to workshop even between splits. How do you identify, or what do you think is the most crucial part, of a team's success when looking towards best of 5 series, and something that can be done in a short period of time? Maybe the easiest thing to attack.
I think there's a lot of factors to it, and I think I was talking to Mark about this earlier. Clutch has literally played almost 18 games, something like that, in the past few weeks. You have 18 games of stats to look at, and I think TSM has a pretty huge coaching staff. You have so many things you can build to just beat Clutch in these 3 games, right? You don't necessarily need to be a great team, but you can be a good enough team to beat Clutch, especially with everything that you have. So I'm really hoping TSM saw all the drafts, saw how Clutch plays. 10-minute Rift Herald. They're going to look to swap every single time. How they're playing in these mid-game teamfights. What champions Huni looks great on, like Aurelia, and what champions he doesn't look so good on, like the Aatrox. I think they kind of have enough information to win this series and go to Worlds. And if TSM isn't looking strong in this series, then that's really telling that they just really don't deserve it because they had so much time to prepare for one opponent.
I think that's when they can use their academy team to actually try to emulate Clutch Gaming and say, okay, you guys pick Rumble and Kiana and play. You only play as a 10-minute Rift Herald, and then they start warming up. How do you then react to that? What do you need to prepare so that you can anticipate it? So A lot of players have to come into the equation to allow TSM to find a win against Clutch, but it's going to take a big effort because of how hurtful that loss against Clutch was in the first round.
2 teams remain, 1 slot remains at Worlds, and 1 best of 5 separates each of these teams from snagging that 3rd and final spot. If you need to indulge in more League of Legends, though, the LEC kicked off their finals weekend in Athens, and you'll be getting a rebroadcast of that at the end of our show today. Thank you, Darshan, so much for joining us here today for these 4 very exciting games. Now for myself, the casters, the entire live broadcast crew, thank you for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow for the conclusion of the regional qualifiers. Good night. Thank you, dude.